Hi everyone, welcome back to Flight School. I'm Lily Margolis,
I'm Josh Gosnell.
and today we're tasting through a lineup of non-alcoholic beers that are not your father's non-alcoholic beers.
So, we've picked through a lineup here of just a few of our non-alcoholic options we have here at Hazel's. As we said, non-alcoholics have come a long ways from essentially O'Doul's being your only option for a non-alcoholic beer. Now we have many more to choose from, much more quality, much more diversity of the beer styles and different producers that we can choose from.
Well, let's talk about why non-alcoholic beer is such a great option.
I mean, I think it's a great option, sober or drinking. Either way, you don't have to go stone cold sober. You don't have to be a raging alcoholic to enjoy non-alcoholic beers. To me, and to a lot of our companies as well, Ration Ale in particular, kind of put this mindset out there is they're not saying don't drink. They're like, drink and have a Ration Ale. Like, moderate your drinking a little bit. You know, you can still have that beer, but you can still drive home afterwards as well.
Yeah.
You won't get yourself in trouble. A lot of them are lower in calories. You're obviously not consuming, intaking all of that alcohol. So there's some definite benefit to it. It's come a long, long way. The quality has gotten a lot better, the technology involved with it. And I think just mixing in a non-alc every once in a while, you just feel better the next day for sure. And even in social settings, I know that a lot of music venues, a lot of sports venues are starting to carry some of these non-alcoholic brands as an option. You know, hey, have my beer at the start of the show, maybe getting towards the end of it, I still kind of want something to drink, grab a non-alc instead. Going to see a show at Red Rocks, going to Coors Field, going to Empower Field, you know, they places like that are starting to give much more non-alc options.
Yeah, and I personally love the option of non-alcoholic beer because I both don't drink that much and also have a pretty low tolerance, so it's really nice just to be able to have something like in my hand and feel like I'm like participating like with the group, and I'm not getting that, oh, I'm gonna have to wait another hour before I drive home effect at the end of the night, and I'm feeling much better the next day.
Exactly. And that's what a lot of it is. If you want to quit drinking, there are plenty of options, plenty of non-alc beers out there. But if you know you want to moderate yourself, keep it between the lines, non-alc is a great way to do so. So I say we dive right into it. Starting off, we have our local guys, Upslope, giving us a version of their craft lager. So yeah, if I remember correctly, as I mentioned, that membrane technology, that super filtration is what a lot of these guys are going to use. The Chouffe being the only one, which we'll get to, that uses like kind of that non-alcoholic or lower producing yeast to it.
Okay.
Yeah, you still smell like, still looks, smells just like beer.
On the nose, like at least I can't tell that it's non-alcoholic whatsoever. It smells the same to me.
It smells like a
Yeah.
genuine, just smells like beer. And yeah, you just still get that good carbonation out of it. You get that good, just clean craft lager feel. It's just an easy drinking, straightforward, no frills kind of lager.
And I was gonna say maybe it has a lighter mouthfeel than an alcohol full beer, but it is a lager, so
Yeah,
like,
it's got that
how
light
much
body
of a
to
difference
it.
is there really gonna be?
Right. I think, yeah, with that ethanol being one of the key factors you may miss throughout most of these, just that little, even with beer being, you know, generally around 5 or 6%, you're not going to feel that same ethanol burn if you go from like an 80 proof to a cask strength whiskey. Like, it may not be that stark of a difference because we're only working in like the 5% range here, but you do miss a little bit of that drying character. To where, you know, with beer, you get that hop, you get that ethanol, kind of dries your mouth out, makes you reach right back for the for another drink. I gotta quench my thirst. With this, you may miss out a little bit on it, but otherwise, the beer flavor's all there. And past that, we have a multitude of different styles too. Going to Best Day in their Nature's Pills. It's just a nice light hoppy pilsner. You get that noble hop character.
Both of these two breweries are doing an amazing job with
Yeah.
like maintaining the character of the alcohol full beer. Like,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
I mean, yeah, you drink this.
Yeah.
It'd take quite the, I think, quite the trained palate to put this next to a regular Pilsner and be able to blind taste me on it and say which is which. They've come a long way in making it taste like the real deal.
And I feel like you're even getting that like hoppy, like bitter tongue flavor like in this beer
Yeah,
as well. And
a little
like
bit of that bitterness on the finish for sure. They make pretty much a good number of styles, almost anything you could want or ask for in a non-alcoholic version. I mean, some of the larger brands as well are starting to do non-alcoholic options. I mean, Guinness, Corona, we've got Asahi, we've got Budweiser, PBR, Coors. We have a ton of bigger brands who are also making a non-alcoholic option for those who just want to mix it up or want or need that non-alcoholic option.
Yeah, and I remember, I think Coors has had a non-alcoholic option for a while because my grandparents actually started drinking non-alcoholic Coors as they got a little older and needed to do so for their health, and they've always loved it.
Yeah, and again, the technology, the processes have definitely improved the quality of it and the availability, of course. Right? So next we'll get into the Chouffe non-alcoholic, or the Na Chouffe, N-A Chouffe. This one coming from Belgium. Like I mentioned before, the only one I could find any solid evidence on using a kind of specialized yeast to produce that lower alcohol to it.
And if you're using yeast to produce lower alcohol, is that gonna create a little bit of a different flavor?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, because of course with those yeast strains, there will be a difference between our normal, in this case, like Belgian yeast strains and something that produces lower alcohol or no alcohol. There will be just kind of fundamental differences there.
So with an NA that you're using a yeast strain, you might be able to like pick up more regional characteristics in a non-alcoholic beer compared to a beer that isn't using yeast.
Not 100%. I mean, there are with these, they are using yeast. They're brewing essentially a full-strength beer and then removing the alcohol from it. So this is taking kind of a slightly different approach by using a lower alcohol producing yeast or non-alcohol producing yeast with that. So the yeast is still very much active, giving us our carbonation and whatnot, but using a certain metabolic process that allows it to not produce alcohol or produce produce a lot less.
Gotcha.
What do you get off that nose?
Fruity on the nose.
That is like lemon peel. That is bright lemon.
Some raspberry on the nose for me as well, for sure.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Yeah, on the body for sure.
Have you ever had Celestial Seasonings raspberry zinger tea? It tastes like that for me, like good almost like exactly
lemon raspberry zinger, but in like a beer form.
Yeah,
and it's still just light, bright, delightful. You're getting some of that kind of Belgian yeast character out of it, where it has this underlying fruit character, a little bit of spice, a little bit of that herbaceousness, but just this absolutely delightful.
Really good. It's really good.
It's my first time trying it too, honestly.
Hey, me too.
And then we go from something with citrus notes to something with some citrus added in Ration Ale. Like I was saying, these guys, meeting with their founders a couple of different times, their whole philosophy behind it is, if you want to quit drinking, we're all here for it. But you don't have to either. Just mix one in. Try one of our non-alcoholic offerings and just mix it into your drinking habits. They're saying, like, just cut back just that little bit. Do something a little bit, do something good for you every once in a while with that. They're like, don't have to go cold turkey. We don't have to be the only thing you drink, but mix it in there a little bit. I remember at certain beer festivals, they would just seeing people walk by and be like, hey, you've had a beer in your hand a while, have one of our non-alcs. Try this for a minute, like take a small break in there.
Yeah.
And moderate it, really.
And for Ration Ale, I know you just said that there's added citrus. Is that citrus juice?
With this one, I would assume so, or citrus peel being the other one, because this one being
definitely
there.
Smell it.
So they're citrus IPA here. Get that really nice citrusy note. Not quite a hazy IPA, but leaning in that direction.
Yeah, and I mean you can see that in the glass as well. Really good.
Yeah, just bright hoppy. That I feel like it is citrus peel, just with how dry and like bitter it is on there. But again, just well-rounded, delightful, a little bit lighter than some beers. I've noticed across the board, the mouthfeel, everything's just a touch lighter than most.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And like also as someone who wasn't an automatic beer person, like it's taken me some time to like learn to appreciate beers. These are great for me because I feel like they're not quite as overwhelming as a full alcohol beer. Yeah.
And I mean, like we were saying, that lighter body, that a little more sessionable, more drinkable character of it, versus a full strength beer where sometimes you get the body just kind of hits you a little bit different. So last, and the reason I had the can unopened, Gruvi's Nitro Mocha Stout. And I'm following the directions right here on the back. Don't look at me like I'm crazy. They say you do this with any other beer and you know exactly what happens. This is how everybody in college has pranked their friend. Oh, we're going to shake the crap out of this and give it to our buddy. He's going to open it. It's going to be hilarious. I'm following instructions here. Because it's nitrogenated, it's a different sort of bubble character than we've seen throughout the rest of these. There's a little run over, but we'll hopefully catch this on camera too. You
and luckily our tablecloth is black.
You can hopefully catch that on camera, hopefully with mine,
so cool.
Just a little bit of that cascading effect that you get with, like, say, a Guinness. But they tell you to pour hard. They are going to be moving away from the nitro, more of a business decision than personal decision, because everybody at Gruvi really likes the nitro stout. It's definitely one of their unique offerings, but just following instructions on that. Just had to show you all what that looked like.
And is nitro basically injecting CO2?
No. So it's nitrogen versus carbon dioxide.
Okay.
So you can see even on just a little bit of lacing here that it's a different bubble size. If you've had Guinness, that's the most common example of nitrogenated beers, to where you get that just creamy head, just a lot smaller. The nitrogen comes out in like a lot smaller bubbles.
Right.
So it gives it a creamier mouthfeel. And with this, I know we've gotten some complaints in the past that they follow the instructions and it feels flat. Nitro beer will kind of feel a little bit flat because that nitrogen escapes so quickly. It does have its pros and cons.
I think that's great.
Yeah, you get that coffee, you get that chocolate note to it. And again, a little bit thinner body on some of these, but in a nice, sessionable sort of way. All right, folks, thank you again for joining us for today's episode of Flight School, where we took a look at just a few of our many non-alcoholic beer options.
I'm definitely going to be taking home some of these tonight.
Yeah.
They're so good. Yeah. Well, non-alcoholic beers are a great option if you're trying to drink less, not trying to drink at all, or you just want to try something new. Thanks for flying with us again today. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and ask your questions in the comments.